All right, team, we got our widget completely working. Everything looks good, works fine. I did test it on our, whoops, this is not where I want to be. I tested it on our application here, and I can fill up. Works great. I can delete or drain. Works perfect. I can put here, click on this here, and I can put in Joe's tank, for instance. And I can, of course, change the level here to 20. Perfect. Everything's working perfectly good. Okay, so let's continue on then. Now what I want to do is I want to keep track of how much water somebody puts in the tank and how much water they take out of it. And we can do this a couple different ways. Let's pretend that we were going to fill up the tank with water. And if I was to turn on the pump, I think if I just go through this logically with you first, if I wanted to put water in the tank, the minute I turn on the pump, I would want to take a reading as to where the level is at that moment. And then I would let it fill up. And then when I turn it off, I would take a reading. And I would do some math then between what it was when I started to where it was when I ended. And that would give me how much I put on. I would basically take the end result and subtract it from the beginning. And that would tell me how much water I put in the tank. And of course, doing the opposite for the drain would be the case. The same logic as well. Now, I could do this logic at the tag level simply by going to the data tags on the left and go to my tank, and here's your pump and valve tag, which we'll use. But I have written in this database that we're using, over in the left team, I'm actually using the program section here, and I'm trying here in this class to show students how you can use the programs to write logic as well. And this follows a C-like structure or environment, if you will. Not completely C, because you can't really import third-party libraries or functions outside of here, but it follows a lot of the look and feel of a C compiler. So if I expand the tank logic here, and you're going to see that there's a number of so-called programs in here that we'll go through here. And right now, all of them have in the code, they're all what I would call texted. I don't know if that's a real word. Texted out, because I've got a /* and a */ here that kind of makes everything text out. So if we look at this first program here called get start level, and I'm going to invoke this code by deleting that section there, and then I'm going to delete the corresponding */ here. Notice it's red. I'll delete that. Now, team, the 2 slashes makes just this one whole line here a text. That's all it does. And I use this somewhere else in here to just break up a different section of code. But for here, look at this code. Now, I want to show you something. This code, when we call it, it's going to find out what the current level raw is and put it into some kind of tag called start level. Now, I want you to notice over here, there's not a tag called start level. I want you to kind of notice that. Also, notice that since I made those changes to the program, over here, team, the diamond went from green to yellow, and down here, the word translate is highlighted. So anytime that you make changes in here, you have to compile the program or translate it so it's part of the database. Now, one more thing I want to talk about here in this program is up here there's this prototype, and this is basically just a format as to how are you calling this program. Normally I'm not doing anything here. It usually will say like the program name and then void in the parentheses, meaning I'm not sending any variables in or out of this thing. Well, in this case, a little bit different here. If I look over here and click on the edit button over here on the right, you can see something interesting here, team. I'm actually going to send to this program a parameter called level raw, and this program currently is not going to return anything. It is, in essence, let me move this just over a little bit, it's in actuality going to put level raw into this global tag shortly called start level, which you'll see. So I'm going to send it the level raw, and it's going to make that level raw equal to the start level when I invoke this program. So let me click OK here. Yep, don't worry about the errors. It's got errors because I haven't compiled it yet, so I'm going to go ahead and, whoops, my mouse is not working yet. I'm going to delete these word was here. Okay. All right, now watch. Now you can see it went red. Right here is the translate icon, this little checkbox here. And it's kind of weird, team. Certain versions of Crimson, it only shows up when you click in this field. Other versions I've seen it's there. But now I got to click in here to invoke this. If I click over here, sometimes it disappears. And of course, right now it's going to show. But anyway, I'm going to click right here and watch what it does. So right away, Crimson barked at me and said, wait a minute. You don't have a tag called start level that's declared over here. I also haven't declared anything internal to the program. So it's kind of saying, would you like me to declare this automatically? And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And it needs to be an integer because the tag start level, I don't know if I can expand this now, I can't. Because the tag level raw is an integer. So I'm going to click yes. Watch what it does. 1, 2, 3, boom. Hey, look. I got my green diamond back. You guys also heard that sound. And I got a new tag over here called start level. All right, that looks good. Now, the only time I want to call this program is when I turn on the pump. Also, notice down here, team, the word errors is still highlighted. Watch this. If I take my magic mouse and roll over it, it automatically clears. Okay. Now, let's go back to the left and click on data tags on the left here. Here's that pump tag. And the only time I want to call this logic, team, is when I start the pump. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over here to the triggers tab on the pump tag. I'm going to click the triggers tab right here. And on the triggers tab right here where it says trigger mode disabled, I'm going to hit the pull down and choose active on, meaning when I turn the pump on, I want to call that program. And how I'm going to call the program is quite simple. I don't know if it'll work, but I'm going to try this. I'm going to go down here to the lower right, and I'm going to click Programs down here on the right side. I'm going to expand my tank logic. That's where this program resides. And I'm going to drag this tank logic into here, like so. Okay, so in this case, you see here it says this has too few arguments because it doesn't have the parameter coming. So I'm going to try it a different way. I'm going to click the Edit button here. No, you know what I'm going to do? Hit the general pull down here, and I'm going to do complex because I don't want to worry about that issue. Certain Windows versions don't work. So now in here, I'm going to go ahead and grab the program called Get Start Level. I'll drag it out here. Now notice, team, that my mouse is kind of sitting in between the brackets here, or between the parentheses, and that's where it was before I clicked away. I need to send this the current level raw. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go over to the right side and go to data tags on the right side. I'm going to expand the My Tank, and I'm going to grab the tag called level raw, and watch this. I'm going to grab this level raw, hold my pointer down, and I'm going to drag it out here, and notice that little blinking black line. See that? See that black line? Well, I want to drop this right in between the parentheses. So right there, boom. There's that tag. Notice what's nice about dragging it out is it takes the folder.folder name.folder name.tag. So you could also type it, but you got to type everything. So in this case, I just dragged it out, and I'll put a semicolon at the end of this. And then up here where it says complex code, I might type get start level. All right, now if I did this correctly, I can either hit enter or I can click the OK button. Let's see, boom. Hey, that took it, perfect. All right, works for me. So here, let's go back to the programs on the left, and let's look at the program I have here called Calculate Tank Fill. So this program is a conglomeration of basically 3 different things, and you can tell the way I wrote this, I've got section 1 broken up here, section 2, which we'll get to later, and section 3. Let's focus on the section 1 part of this code for now. So in this case, I'm going to invoke the code here. I'm going to delete this /* here, and I'm going to delete the corresponding */ down here. Boom, boom. All right, now that puts this code in action. Just like the previous example, we're going to call this, and if I hit the edit button here, ironically, you're going to see something. We're going to send it the level raw, just like we did the other one, because this program is only going to be called when I turn off the pump. So I'll click the OK button. Don't worry about the was. I guess I'll delete that right now. Okay, so when I call this, it's going to take the current level raw, which is going to come in from here, and put it into a new tag called stop level. Again, notice there's not a tag over here, so we're going to probably have a little error. It's going to calculate that, or it's going to create that for us. And then after it does that, team, since I'm trying to calculate how much water I put in the tank, it's going to do some simple math. It's going to take the stop level. Since we're putting water in the tank, it should be going up. The stop level, theoretically, should be higher than the start level. So it's going to take the stop level minus where it was at the start level, and that's going to give me my total fill level that's right here. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and create or click the, I got to click out here. I'm going to click the translate button right here. And we're going 1, 2, 3. Of course, it's going to bark at me for the stop level. I'll say yes to that. And the tag called fill level does not exist. I'll say yes to that as well. Okay, so now I got these other 2 tags over here. Everything looks good. I'm back to a green diamond over here. I got to go call this program. So I'm going to go over to the left, go to data tags on the left. I'm still on the pump tag. I'm on the triggers tab for it. But in this case, down here when I turn the pump off is when I want to do the calculation of how much water I put in the tank. So I'm going to choose down here and choose active off, meaning that I've translated the pump from the on to the off condition. And then I want to call that program. So right here where it says action, I'm going to hit the pull down here and choose complex. And again, I'm going to go to the right side and go down to programs on the right side. We're going to be using the calculate tank fill level. So I'm going to simply grab the calculate tank fill level and drag it out here like this. Again, notice that my cursor is blinking between the parentheses. I need to feed that program the current tank level raw. So I will go to the right side and go to data tags on the right side. And I'm going to grab the same level raw tag from my tank. I'm going to drag this guy out here. I'm paying attention to where the black blinky line is because I want to drop this boom right there in between the parentheses. And then I'll step out of here and put a semicolon. And this time up here where it says complex code, I'm going to type calculate tank, I can't spell tank, fill up. Fill up. What's the deal with me today? All right. So I click OK. It took that. All right. So I think that logic will work. Now, before I test this, let's do the opposite. Let's pretend, team, that we want to do the same logic when we drain the tank. Okay. So if I'm going to do the same logic for the drain tank, well, listen here or work with me, team. If I wanted to calculate how much water I took out of the tank, I would take a reading the minute I turn on my valve or open my valve here. And then I would take another reading when I close the valve. And then I would do some math on those two to compare how much water I took out of the tank. So in this case, ironically, team, we can go to data tags on the left and we can click on the valve tag. We click on the valve tag. Again, notice when you click on the tag here, crimson. Whoops, I did not want to do that. Why did that move? Okay. So over here you got the tag called valve. Everything in the middle of the screen relates to that particular tag. And again, I'm on the triggers tab for the valve. So on the triggers tab for the valve, down here where it says trigger mode, I'm going to choose active on, meaning that I've opened the valve, and now it's going to be dumping water out of the tank. And I basically need to call the same program that gets to start level. So I'm going to hit the action button here, go to complex. I'm going to go over to the right side, go to programs. I'm going to grab the exact same program called get start level that we did for the fill up. It's the same exact logic. Notice again the cursor is in between the parentheses. So I'm going to go over to the right side, go to data tags. I'm going to grab level raw, drag it out here and put it right in between the parentheses, right there. Semicolon outside, end of that statement. And then I'll put up here get start level, like that, and click OK. All right, now for the trigger 2, I could just right now change it to active off, meaning I've closed the valve, but Trigger 2 is going to actually run a different program. So if I go to the left, go to Programs on the left, and this time, team, I'm going to click on the Calculate Tank Drain Level. Just like the tank fill-up, it's the exact same thing, just that I'm doing the different logic. Instead of taking the start level minus the stop level, if you look at the tank fill-up, I'm taking the stop level minus the start level, because if I'm going up, the stop level will be higher than the start level. If I'm going down, the start level should be higher than the stop level because the amount's decreasing. So anyway, in the Calculate Tank Drain Level here, I'm once again going to get rid of this /* here, and then I'll get rid of the corresponding */ down here. That will invoke this code here. Now, when I go to compile this time, I already have a tag called stop level, so it shouldn't bark at me about that, but I do not have a tag called drain level. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this compile button here, boom. Yep, I'm going to say yes to the tag called drain level, and that's perfect. Now you notice I still have this red error down here. This doesn't clear until I swipe over it, or if I have error, it takes me to it. So if I wipe over, cleared it. Okay, let's go to data tags on the left, because we need to call this program. So right here, team, where it says action, I hit the pull down, go to complex. I'm going to go to the right side, click programs on the right side. I'm going to grab the Calculate Tank Drain Level out here. And remember, notice the parentheses, the black line is in parentheses. I need to send that thing the tag called level raw. So go to the right side, go to data tags. I'm going to grab the level raw. I'm going to drag it out here, and I'm going to place it right in between the parentheses. There you go. And then I'll step out of the parentheses, semicolon, because that's the end of that statement. And then up here, instead of complex code, I'm going to type calculate tank drain down. Calculate tank drain down. All right. Hit enter. There it goes. So it looks good to me. Now let's try this out. I'm going to go over to display pages on the left, and I'm going to go to the right side. I'm going to go to data tags on the right side, and I'm going to grab my start level. I might place it right here. I'll grab my stop level, and I'll place it maybe right here. And then I'll put the fill level right here, the drain level here. I'm going to roll my mouse in so I can make this a little easier for us to see. Okay, there we go. Let me go ahead. All right, so I'm going to make this guy a little bigger, and then I'm going to highlight this guy. Watch this. I'm going to lasso those two, hold down my shift key, highlight that one, and I'm going to do same size as this guy right here. There we go. All right, and then I'm going to line this one with the left of this guy here, and I think these two should be lined up. I'm pretty sure. All right. Oh, you know what else? I'm going to line this one with the top of this guy, and I'll do the same with this one. Line this one, the top of that one. Okay, I'm going to save this and download it, team. Let's see if our logic works. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Did I not download? Help me go refresh it here. All right. I don't know what happened there, but I got it to download finally. Okay, so if you look right now, my current tank level is sitting right about 3 here. You can see right here. So if I turn on the pump, all of a sudden start level went to 3. Stop level is still 0 because I haven't turned off the pump. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn off the pump right there. I stopped it at level 12. So team, I started at 3, went to 12. That means I put in 9 gallons that time. So if I turn on the pump again, let it fill up just a couple gallons here. And that time I went from 12 to 16, so I put in 4 gallons that time. That worked out pretty good. What if I fill up the tank all the way? So here I have the tank all the way full, and I'm overflowing. Now, based on the way our logic works here, I'll turn off my pump. You can see that, according to the logic, I put in 4 gallons, but once it's overflowing, I don't have a way to computate how much I'm putting in based on the way I'm doing this with the level here. Now, if I had a flow meter or something here, I could continue to count how much water I put in the tank. But once I'm really, what I need to do, team, is anytime the tank is overflowing, I should turn the pump off or have some alarm that says, hey, it's overflowing. But I'm not putting that in this case, but that is something to think about, that in a real-world application, when the tank is overflowing, you would want to turn the pump off or put a valve in here to shut it so that you're not putting any more water in it. But anyway, so if I drain down, let's see if the drain down works. So if I take just a couple, so I went from 20 to 17, I took out 3 gallons that time. And what about here on the bottom? Here, let's go ahead and go down a few more here. There we go. And let's see if we can drain it all the way down. So there I stopped it. Current level now is at 3. So if I drain this down and leave the valve open, I believe that the most water that I will get out of it is going to be 3. So, of course, the valve is still open. It hasn't done a calculation yet as to how much water came out, because it only does that when I close the valve. So if I close the valve, you can see that I couldn't get any more water out of it because it went down. So, I mean, that was empty. It was empty at that point. Now, one other thing here to consider is if I happen to open or fill up my tank like I'm doing right now, and shut it off, you can see that I'm getting the appropriate levels here. But if I run this up to, say, 10, and then open my valve here, I went to 11, but that's all right. Now I have a little bit of a conundrum here, because if I close this, it kind of resets my drain level, and then now if I open or shut this off, it really only gives you, I think, the values from when this was triggered. Well, let me see here. Let me try this again. Drain this down here. And I'll take this right down to 10. Let's see what happens here. So at 10, I'll turn on the pump. There we go. So the pump is on right now. Nothing's moving because the valve is open and it's going out. So we started at 10, went to 14. Well, this ought to be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so that time it says 0 there. If I turn this off. Yeah, so it's kind of another thing to think about here in this application is that you wouldn't want to ever have the valve open at the same time that pump on. So there's some other logic you could add to this so that works correct. Now, I'm going to continue a little further in the next video, but for now, team, in this one, we have played with our first instances of these programs, and we've invoked the get start level, which is pretty simple. And we've done the calculate tank level, and we've done the section between the 1s. The next video will cover the 2s and 3s. All right.